Hi, I'm Sage Hill, and welcome to the Soulcial Sage. I want to invite you to share your comments below and also to share any topics that you would like to hear me discuss here on the Soulcial Sage. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I wanted to take this time before we get even started with this episode to just kind of show you this shirt. So this shirt says, "I am enough." And that is a theme that you will hear me address so often on this program, because I am enough really helps to solidify your understanding that despite what other people may have to say or have said about you, that you remain enough. We are all works in progress, but no one should take away from you the feeling that you are enough. No one should cause you to feel less than, because we are equal to, and we are all enough. Today, I'm going to be talking to people in general. I was going to say that I'm making this video, this episode, specifically for millennials. And while that is true, I think it applies across the board. I want to talk about success and struggle. Success and struggle. That's so important to me. And I think we need to talk about it a little bit more, because I believe that there is this misnomer out there that in order to feel successful, that you have to have everything together, like right now. And in a world where we are inundated with images of other people's success, we sometimes tend to believe that success happens overnight. And that is a very rare instance. Now, let me just stop and pause and say, you guys, I am sick. I literally have COVID. It took everything in me to throw a little makeup on and come down here to record, but I felt like it was important that I, A, keep the episodes coming, and B, talk about this particular topic. So this is how this all came about. Last night, John and I were talking, and he showed me a picture of this company that does automobile kind of makeovers. They, do makeovers of vehicles for celebrities now, and really successful, right? And he was like, man, he said, I can only imagine the amount of money that they're making, like, look at this work that they're doing. Look at all the work that they're doing for, all of these successful people and well-known celebrities. And I said, yeah, that's where they are today. But I guarantee you, when they got started, it didn't look like that. So often we mistake the images that we see, particularly on social media, but also on mainstream media as well. We see these images of people's success, and they're successful and they're living these large lives. That includes celebrities as well, but just, people that are now successful business owners. And we often equate somehow that success to our attempts at success. And we sometimes walk away feeling like failures because we haven't made it yet. And here's the thing, in life, everything takes time. Nothing happens overnight. These people that tell you that they posted one Instagram post and all of a sudden this drink or this product that they had created just took off, failed to tell you about the backstory. They failed to tell you about trying to create the project and the development work, the testing work, the failures that happened before they got to that success. Perhaps that one Instagram post did it for them, but I can guarantee you that there were a lot of sleepless nights. There were a lot of tears that were shed, and there was a lot of work that was done on the background that even got them to the point that they could make that post. I'm going to make it even a little bit more simplified for you. I'm going to get personal here and talk about just my success. So here I am today. I'm in my 50s, and I had my first idea for business when I was 21, 22 years old. It was a marketing firm, and I literally was able to sit in front of people that had the ability to, so I thought, help propel me to success. Now, some of those people had ulterior motives, but I had this dream of having this company wherein I could help other people promote their products and services. But it wasn't time. I wasn't ready. And so that venture did not succeed. A lot of effort went into it, but ultimately it just wasn't the best time for me. Now let's fast forward to other things that can happen in life. Let's take a wedding, for example. You go to a wedding, you get there as a guest, you're seated in this venue, everything is beautiful, flowers are coordinated, the color theme is matched perfectly, and then the wedding starts. Hopefully it starts on time, and you're sitting back and you're watching as this well-orchestrated program takes place right before your eyes. But I can guarantee you, it wasn't easy getting to that day. There were issues that the bride ran into around fittings. There were conversations about guest list. There were tears that were shed over frustration with people not cooperating. There were issues with bridesmaids and groomsmen. There were attitudes that had to be contended with. I can remember when I got married the first time, years ago, I had this huge wedding in this fairly well-known church, large church in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I used to live, where I grew up. The day of my wedding, several things happened. One of my bridesmaids who didn't show up for her fittings got there, tried on her dress, and it was extremely tight. Well, you know what? I don't have any tears to share for you because you should have showed up for the fittings. But now she's upset. I get to the church. I'm waiting on my hair guy and the makeup team to come and start doing my makeup. And I forget the words to the song that I'm supposed to be singing. Add to that, I have one of my team members that were helping to coordinate, I guess a coordinator, came and told me that one of the deacons at the church was being extremely rude to people as they were coming in. So in typical fashion, and keep in mind, I was 27 at the time. No, I was 26 at the time. I get up, I go out, I confront this guy, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we've paid to be here. Well, you didn't pay enough. This guy was literally upset because I knew the pastor, and the pastor gave me a deal because he knew me. He knew my family. He had grown up with me. That was his decision. Churches shouldn't be making monies off of weddings anyway, but I digress. That's another topic for another day. Literally, 3 people, including one of my maid of honor, literally had to come alongside me, pick me up. I was a little bitty thing back then. I'm still small, but 5'2", probably weighed 100 pounds dripping wet. And they picked me up to help move me out of that situation so that I would not go in on that man, because trust and believe, I don't back down to anybody. And I was not about to back down to that man on my wedding day. So we go back, I get dressed, come out. The wedding has started. The organist that's playing for the singers that were singing, all of a sudden, music stops. Lights go out. This clown had pulled the plug on the electrical. He had shut the electrical down. But because I was dealing with a professional, that gentleman got up from the organ, flipped up the tails to his tux, sat down at the piano, and didn't miss a beat. Lights came back on. It was seamless, despite the fact that somebody else was trying to mess up my day. That kind of a situation is just one example of all of these orchestrated things that people see on one side, and they didn't think anything about it. The people at the wedding thought that was a part of it. They thought that he was going to stop playing the organ and start playing the piano. They thought, because there were candles, that it was going to be a candlelit service. They didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, but I knew, the groom knew, the person playing the piano and the organ, he knew, but nobody else knew. Our stories, however, our lives are not that well orchestrated. And when it comes to having success, a successful venture, just leading a successful life, you have to know that there are going to be bumps along the way. Everything is not going to be perfect. And things are not always going to happen the way we expect them to happen. Some things we have control over, and other things we have absolutely no control over. And we have to be able to adapt to the situations and the circumstances that confront us in life. We can't stop pushing forward because one obstacle gets in our way. We can't give up because of a single failure. Do you know how many successful business people have filed bankruptcy multiple times before they actually succeed? A lot. Do you know how many people have tried different ventures before they finally come up with the one that works? A lot. So when I tell you not to get upset and not to be anxious when things don't fall into place the way you think they should, when you think they should, and how you think they should, trust and believe things will get better. You will find your success. You will find your purpose. And it's when you find your purpose, that's when everything falls into place. I have another episode where I talk about timing is everything. And that coordinates so well with this message because much of what happens in our lives is about timing. Perhaps we're not ready. Perhaps there are more lessons that we need to learn. And I know this may not be a popular message because you don't want to hear about lessons, but guess what? Lessons are waiting for you. Lessons are still waiting for me. Do you know how many people are so much older than I am, living to be 80, 90 years old? Do you know how many more lessons they've learned than I have? How many more lessons I've learned than my daughter, who's 30, has learned? And even in those lessons, even with all of the lessons that we have to learn, if we take away something from them, we will be better off the next time. So the next time that you're watching a reel or you're listening to someone talk about their success as they're trying to get you to buy into something that they're selling, I want you to think about this conversation that we're having today. It didn't happen for them overnight, and I can guarantee you it wasn't easy. Anything worth having is worth waiting for. And that statement could not be more true. We live in an age where we expect everything to happen instantaneously. It doesn't. It never has and it never will. And I don't care how many people tell you that they had an overnight success. Trust and believe they're not telling you the truth. You don't just wake up with an idea and it automatically comes into fruition and you're selling millions of dollars worth of product right off the bat. That's not how it works. There's research and development. There's trial and error. There are people who tell you no. How many no's do you hear before you get to a yes? If you're trying to even build a social media presence, let me tell you, it is not easy. It takes time. And every time you see that you have gained another subscriber or another follower, don't be upset because you feel like your numbers are still low. Everybody had to start somewhere. If you start with one subscriber, before long, you'll have 3. Before long, you'll have 5. And that number will keep going. The same thing with your following on social media. It will keep growing, but it doesn't happen overnight. The same thing with your business. You may start off with one strong customer, but at least it's a start. And eventually, through word of mouth, through advertising, through coordinated marketing plans, through strategizing and hiring the right people to help you get to where you want to be, it can and it will happen. And a lot of it starts with your mindset. Acknowledging and accepting that you're not going to be an overnight success, that this is going to take time and effort. It is going to take blood, sweat, and tears, as they say. But it will happen eventually. When is eventually? I can't tell you that. But I can tell you it took me a while. You know, I used to go sometimes shopping with my parents, or I'd go and visit my parents' home when both of them were still living. And I used to be amazed at how well they were living. I was amazed at the fact that when I was like 30, that they could get whatever they wanted whenever they wanted it. At least it seemed that way to me. They didn't have to worry about if their car broke down, how they were going to pay for it. They just did. If they wanted new furniture, they got it. If they had a plumbing issue in their home, they paid for it. And here it was that, yes, I had a home, but I was struggling. I was struggling to make ends meet. I mean, I wasn't missing any meals. The utilities never got cut off, but I didn't have that level of comfort that I wanted in my life. I wanted what they had. But they had a 27 to 30 year head start over me. So here it is. I'm sitting back, coveting what they have, wanting to make myself fast forward to where they were. But yet I hadn't been through half of what they had been through. I hadn't been through the disappointments and the trials, although I felt like I was going through several trials, that I had experienced several disappointments. Why couldn't I be there where they were? Because it wasn't time. It wasn't time, and I wasn't ready. I hadn't had the time to build up my bank account like they had. I hadn't worked the number of years that they had. I hadn't contributed for the number of years to a 401k as they had. I hadn't even started thinking about buying stock, but they had. Time. Time makes all the difference in the world. And we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people. We do that as human beings so much. We look at other people and somehow we want to make ourselves, our lives magically turn into what someone else has. And that may not be for us. That's that person's journey. That's their experience. Can we get there? Certainly. But wouldn't you much rather get to your version of your life as it was intended to be, as it will be? We covet other people and what they have so much so that it makes us less appreciative of who we are. We don't acknowledge to ourselves that we're enough. I'm enough. As I am in this moment, I am enough. The success that I want, I can get it because I am enough. It may not happen as quickly as I want it to happen, but because I'm enough, it's going to happen. It's going to happen for me too. But it's going to be my thing. You've heard the saying, what God has for me is for me. That's right. What God has for you is intended for you. Whether we want to believe it or not, there was a plan that was laid out for us well in advance of us ever arriving on the scene. You may not be a religious person. That's your prerogative, but I am. And I do believe that timing is everything. I do believe that you can be as prosperous, if not more, as some of the people that you're watching on social media and in other forms of mainstream media. But their journey was theirs. Your journey is yours. Success can happen, but it doesn't happen by waving a magic wand, and it certainly doesn't happen overnight. So stop putting that unnecessary pressure on yourself. Stop getting angry at other people when you should be celebrating their successes. Because if you can't celebrate for others, no one's going to celebrate for you. And I can promise you that you will delay your blessings even longer. Learn to be happy for other people. When you see someone that has experienced a success, remember what I've said. It didn't happen overnight, but it can happen for you too. But it's going to happen for you based on your journey. So I'm certainly glad, as always, that you guys have joined me for this episode. As always, it's been a pleasure, my treasures. And I hope that this message has resonated with you in such a manner that you will recognize and you will see you are enough, and that you can take a deep breath and realize that in time you will get there too. Thank you for listening. Again, I'm Sage Hill, and this is the Soulcial Sage.